Welcome to another episode of Exploring Thoughts, where every week we take a thought provoking topic and explore it. We're your hosts, Susie.
And Melly. So let's just jump right in. This week's episode is on toxic people.
Shit.
Yeah. And since there's really not a definition of toxic people in Webster's dictionary, this week we're going to be using the Urban Dictionary. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Urban Dictionary, it's essentially a dictionary. It's just for slang and terms that didn't quite make the cut
For
for real
regular
English.
dictionary.
Exactly. Toxic person. A person who goes through every length to make another person feel bad about themselves and make it seem like they are the person who is better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Major gaslighting.
Oh my God. That's such a huge trait of toxicity. Like,
You going out of your way to do something that you know will hurt me,
mm-hmm.
whether I find out or not.
Yeah.
That's another one.
And just the whole selfish aspect of that in general, like that emotional selfishness that I don't care what this is gonna do to you, but it
Mm.
benefits me, so I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yep. It's
Toxic.
for me.
Yeah. All right. That's
We agree on that.
I do. Yeah. I totally agree. Normally it's like hit or miss, but I think that was what I was expecting.
Yeah.
For toxic person.
I feel like with toxic people, it's so problematic because it's fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's in your relationships, it's in your friendships, it's within strangers, within your work,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
you know? And what we were just talking about is that it's not just toxic people, it's toxic situations, toxic behavior.
Yeah. Because any toxic behavior doesn't always come from like a toxic person. You know,
Yeah,
that behavior can come from anyone.
a toxic background,
Yeah, a toxic background.
a
If that's
toxic
all that
environment.
person knows, then of course they're going to be that way
Yep, because they ain't got no other way.
exactly. And they don't know another way until someone else comes and tries. And I say try being the objective word here because if that person who is exhibiting toxic behavior does not want to change, even after being or
Told
having,
and,
yeah,
yep,
exactly, being told and having that light shed on that toxicity, and there's nothing that that other person who's letting or informing that person can do
nope,
because
they're never going to change.
they're never going to change. You have to want to change in order to actually change. And I think that's the biggest thing with toxic people is that they're aware of their behavior and they still don't care.
Yeah,
They're not going to change.
that's real, true toxic people.
Yeah.
That you know what the fuck you're doing is damaging the
Mm-hmm.
other person.
And
You're still doing it.
Exactly. I mean, put yourself in that position of hurting someone that you actually care about and just not being able to stop yourself from that behavior and the amount of damage that you're doing to that person.
It's
To
sickening.
That's the separating thing here between toxic and not caring about what you're doing and not caring about what you're doing. And I can't put myself in a position to not care about hurting someone that I care about.
Yeah. And purposely,
Yeah,
repeatedly doing
doing it.
something over and over again.
Yeah.
After being asked not to, after being told.
Yeah, like boundaries have been given to
Boundaries.
you and you continuously step all over them. Like that's a big
No.
that's
Red
yeah,
flag. That's
that's
a
a
red
big red
flag.
flag.
It's a
And it's
big
a
red
red
flag.
flag that's if we're talking about toxic people, we also have to talk about the people who are in those relationships with the toxic people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they are so damaged, it is hard to get away from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to separate yourself. It's hard to give yourself enough support to say enough is enough
I
and
need to
I'm
leave.
done
Yeah.
and to leave. That takes an incredible amount of willpower to separate yourself from that situation.
Yeah. And it's also getting to that point of
Yeah.
even realizing that, hey, I should fucking leave.
Hmm.
Like, this is not okay. This is not for me. This is not okay.
Exactly. And you need to separate yourself from the situation. And I think that's also a big part of why I was so happy that we decided to do toxic people because this is also for anyone who's listening who needs that bit of like I need out and they're hearing this and it's moving them and even if you don't make the decision to leave but that plants a seed and like
It
you're able to
enforces,
exactly you're
yeah,
and if you're not out, don't punish yourself, okay? Don't do it. Take your time. It happens. It will happen for you. You will get to the part where you're like, no more is no more, and then you'll be free. Well, I just wanted to say that too,
Yeah.
especially since we're talking about you guys right now.
Yeah, it's true. We hope that you get that power to get the fuck out, because I promise you, you deserve better. And I promise you that there is better out there.
Yeah.
And that's regarding anything, regarding
Hmm.
relationships, regarding friendships,
Family
family
members that you
members,
need to set a boundary with.
work
What?
bosses.
Yeah. This is for anything. This is not just like for some mega type abuse. Like, just in your everyday, you should be surrounding yourself with people who bring positivity and good energy to your life. Like, and no one's perfect. It's not to say that you're gonna have happiness all the time within every relationship. That's not the point of this. It's just that you should be able to communicate to those people with health in a healthy way
Yeah.
to express what they're doing to you that you're not liking.
Yeah, I think that's a major fucking key. I think that's um a big way to be able to find the difference between an actual toxic person or a person that has toxic qualities,
Yeah.
but that can change, or that
Mm-hmm.
is willing to
Willing to do the
change.
work, exactly.
Because I feel like the minute you put a boundary down, or the minute you speak up, the minute you say, "Hey, this is not working out. This is not helping me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what I need right now," and they immediately shut your fucking ass down
And get defensive and
and
angry
and
and
angry
start
and start blaming
spitting.
on you,
Yeah.
or but I did all of this, but whatever the situation, that's a red fucking flag.
Yeah.
That's a major difference between a toxic person and someone that has toxic qualities that can change. Because
Yeah.
the person that can change, the person that just has some toxic background that may be influencing their
Mm-hmm.
decisions,
Yeah.
will be able to fucking hear you out. Even if it's not right there and then, they'll
Yeah.
give you the chance, they'll hear you out, they'll want to communicate, and they'll want to improve.
I agree. Any type of resistance, that's a red flag to that. And
Major.
and when you are met with someone who will, like you said, not just, it may not be in the moment, but eventually come to you and be like, "Hey, I heard what you said,
Let's see what we
and
can do
let's
about it.
see what we can do about this. I'll do my best." You
Mhm.
know, like I'd rather take "I'll do my best" than da da da
So
da
what the
da
fuck
da
are you
da.
talking
And
about?
sometimes it's not even explosive. It doesn't have to be
Yes, that's so
explosive.
true.
That's also like, please hear us. You don't have to be hot headed. Does not mean toxic.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, because
Because that's a toxic behavior,
yeah, it
not
is
a
a
toxic
toxic
person.
behavior. It's not a toxic person because you can be met with silence. You can be met with being iced out. Like, all of that is still not hearing you.
Yeah.
It's not hearing you. Just because they're not screaming at you or
Or hitting
screaming over
you.
you or hitting you doesn't mean that that person is hearing you.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
And
listening.
that willingness to be silent in that moment and listen to you and your emotional pleas, and then still continue to do that same behavior because they don't care,
Yeah.
is just as bad as someone being like, "No, look at all the things I do. Da, da,
Da
da.
da
I
da
don't
da.
understand why
Yeah.
this is a problem."
Red flag.
Red flag.
Whether they're
Because
screaming or not.
exactly. Just wanted to make sure and put that in there.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. That's the thing. Like, I feel like it's so sad that it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. This is
Like,
not something you can ever get away from.
no, 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 no. But there's definitely a way to try and steer away from this shit. Even if it takes 13 years
Yeah, man.
or 3 or what, or fucking 10 months. I don't know. But you know what?
It took a while for us. Like, we've both had like that toxic relationship in our life, and
Yeah.
I think it's also important to say again and to reiterate that we're not just talking about partner relationships. We're
Yeah.
talking about friends, family, like the work environment, strangers, everything.
Everything.
Let's talk about some of our experiences. Like, I want to hear. Why don't you go first?
Oh my God. Yeah, man. I have too many to talk about, honestly, and that's regarding friendships, family members, and just toxic situations I've been in.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I feel like one of the major ones was this group of friends that I met during 2009.
Oh God,
That
that's a long time ago.
throwback. Um, I met a few of them in school, and I met a few from like friends of friends, you know?
Mhm.
But we were all very toxic. Like, I
Oh.
feel like our relationship, our way of being, our what the fuck we were doing
Mhm.
was very toxic. Let's dig into the fact that we were doing drugs every single fucking weekend.
Ah,
And when I'm talking about every weekend, I'm talking about every fucking weekend
every weekend.
for almost a solid 2 years straight,
Wow.
every weekend.
Yeah.
And we tried every which way to get the money because a few of us were working, but we were jits, we
Yeah.
were fucking like 15, 16, like, and I'm talking about jigs. Like, we were doing
Eh,
X and we were doing fucking Molly and we were doing shrooms and we were doing over the counter shit. Like,
good Lord.
toxic ass fucking people, right? But we
Yeah.
were jits, so we didn't know any better. Not to mention, we all came from like not so well
Family
childhoods,
life.
families, fucking,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So this relationship evolved into this major roller coaster ride, which ended up being for almost 12 years of my
Jesus.
fucking life.
Yeah.
And it's fucking crazy. It's crazy to think that it started off as jits doing fucking drugs every fucking weekend, literally hurting each other because not like
Yeah.
physically, but hurting each other mentally because we would do these drugs and we would be so happy. Oh, I love you. You're amazing. Then Monday would come and now we're weirding off,
Yeah.
where our fucking hormones are out of balance. So we're treating each other like shit. We're fucking angry. We're not even listening to each other. We're not communicating. This was a constant thing. And then it would get to the weekend and we would do drugs again. And guess what? We were
Everything was
happy and I
okay.
love you and you're amazing. And one of them was my boyfriend.
Mhm.
One of them was my best friend. And it ended up being a weird like triangle. Not to say we were like having sex with each other, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
It's not, we never did anything intimate, but that's
How
how
it
it felt. That's
felt.
how everybody interpreted. I cannot tell you the amount of people that would come up to me and be like, are y'all like together? Like, are
Like the
y'all like
three
a,
of
a
you together?
triple? Like, is that like a thing? And it was because of the way that we all behaved. It was because of the way that we all created this weird imbalance relationship where it was a constant need to be with each other. It was a constant need to be reassuring each other.
Mhm.
Da, 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 da. And it was so weird because we would like separate and then the other people would get mad at each other and then we would get back and you would find out that they would like do shit. Like, I remember this one time I left to Chile. I came back, all my weed was gone. They had like a weird energy thing going on. And I'm like such an energy person. Like, even
Yeah.
back then, even back then when I was a straight fucking ravage ass savage bitch, and I could care less about how you felt. I was toxic as fuck back then. As fuck. Even then, I could feel energies and I could just feel the shifts. But for some reason, I always stayed along. Like, I always like clinged along. Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's something in this friendship that's for me. Whatever the fuck the situation was. And this just rollballed and for so long. And then my boyfriend at the time, we split up, and then they ended up hooking up, and then we were still friends, and then I met another dude, and then that snowballed because she needed to be in the relationship too, and that just kept on going for years and years. And I'm telling you, it was just a very, very toxic
Environment.
lifestyle, environment,
Yeah.
behaviors from all sides.
Mhm.
And it was just hard to get the fuck out of it because it honestly felt like, oh, okay, this is how friendships are. Like, is this not how you are with your best friend and your boyfriend? Oh,
Mm,
you know?
like, oh.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like once I started getting older, especially once I had Leo, like once I started have like went into motherhood, had
Mhm.
that PTSD shit, and I felt really alone. Like, I realized, like, huh, this is toxic.
Yeah.
Huh, maybe this is not the right way. And I remember many times like opening up and trying to get some type of communication going, some type of, alignment going. And I feel like it would work to a certain degree. And then we would roll back to the way that our behaviors were in the beginning. And I don't know, man. Toxic behaviors are hard, and toxic situations are even harder. You know what I mean? And like, unless you completely get out of it, it's hard to stop. Like, it's hard to completely change that behavior. So yeah, dude, 12 fucking years after realizing, hey, this is really fucking toxic. This is not okay for my well-being. This is not okay for my mental being. This is not okay for my physical being.
Yeah.
I need to get the fuck out. A huge explosion of bullshit drama,
Oh my God.
you know,
Yeah.
and I wasn't even living here at the time. Like, I was all the way like miles away when all this was going on, and I remember just needing somebody, and the people that were always there that I never really noticed started showing up when I finally started letting go. Like, when I finally started being like, I'm in a fucking toxic ass place. I need to get the fuck out. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not getting what I need. Let me leave. All of a sudden, my eyes started opening, and I was like, I never even needed this in the first place, you know? So it was hard. It's still fucking hard. It's random. It's like
Yeah.
weird. It's like you get like this weird feeling because these toxic people that have been in your life, you thought were always going to be there.
And it's also an investment. That's an
Oh
investment of
my God.
time.
Ain't that?
Like, it's one of the reasons why those relationships are so hard to leave from, also, because you're like, holy shit, I spent so much fucking time with this person.
Yeah.
Like, I spent so many years with this person.
So many
Like,
phases with
exactly,
this
of my
person.
life. I went like, and then I had to realize, because I have the same person. I was in this, she was my best friend,
Hmm.
or what I thought, was my best friend. And because of what she had going on, I guess, in herself and her life, I was her whipping post. Like, and that just was my lot for that friendship.
Yeah.
And I was going through things while I was having this friendship with this person.
Yeah.
And I realize now that it's just me associating these big times in my life with this person, because this is who was around during these big events. So
Yep.
it means more.
Drama.
Exactly. But it's really just the person who was in my life at that time, because she would just, anytime I talk about it now as an adult, I'm like, why would I allow that to keep happening to myself? Like, we'd find ourselves in these situations where anything that I wanted, she needed to have, and she had to have it before me. And that's not just talking like in school, or I'm talking about in life. Like, she wanted what I wanted. She would change up her stuff just to like mirror,
Hmm.
and then she'd have the resources to do so and do it. Even like with guys. I
That's
said I like this person, then all of a sudden she liked this person, and she was, in my eyes, the prettier one and the more popular one.
mm,
And so she did what she did to do it, and then she had it. And I was just supposed to be okay with that. She'd pop in and out. Whenever she had a disagreement with me, she'd disappear. I wouldn't hear from her. I'd message her. She wouldn't respond to me. Like, and then I'd just stop. And eventually, when I stop and let her, go through whatever, she'll message me and be like, hey, where have you been? I haven't heard from you. I need you, because something's going on in her life. Because something was always going on. Like, something was always going on. And it had to be about her. Anytime we'd sit down and have a conversation, me starting the conversation to be like, hey, I need to talk to my best friend. This is what's going on with me. Halfway through the conversation, she's already saying, oh my God, yeah, me too, blah, 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 blah. And then it's all about her. And then I try and rein it back,
and
and
it never goes
it
back.
never goes back. Like, I think I understood what she was doing to me, because it hurt. It hurt me, but I didn't have any other friends at the time, like any like real, or what I thought were real friends,
Yep.
because
It just wasn't like
it
that.
just wasn't like that. Exactly. Like,
Exactly.
we were with each other all the time.
Yep.
I was at her house, she was at my house. We were in the practice room
Sleepovers.
together, sleepovers, going out for coffee, going out to eat, anything. And I was in this is in high school now. I was not in a position, I didn't have any money. I wasn't working at the time, and she was. And so she'd be like, hey, I want to go, here, come with me. And I'd be like, no, I don't have any money to go. And she'd be like, just come, I'll pay for you.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, because I can't pay you back. And she's like, that's not what I'm asking for. So in those moments, I thought it was really her doing something selfless.
Yeah.
Like, she sees her friend doesn't have, and she's insisting. But then I would go and it would be the blah 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 show, you know?
The blah 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 show.
And I couldn't, it was more about me having to sit there and listen through the whole time, you know, about everything that's going on and the situations that she would put herself in, you know? And then she just wanted to hear the sound of her voice. It wasn't about having anyone to talk to, because anytime I did say something, because I always had what was, I only said what I said out of care for her. Like I always wanted the best for her, and I wasn't making those types of decisions that she was making. Okay, so I would try and tell her like, but you could do this or you could do that. You could do this differently. You know, if you find yourself needing to do that, just call me and come to me. Like,
And it
oh,
never
it
happened.
never happened, and it was always an excuse. It was always an excuse as why, like, what I was saying was like, yeah, but no, like I can't do that, or I already tried that, and I'm like, so then
Am I here?
why am I here? Exactly. Like what do you want? What do you want from me? And the more I started to feel that, which again didn't happen for about 10 or 11 years,
Mhm.
okay, I was like, I can't do this anymore, because she would, the longer the friendship went on, the bigger the gaps would be in between her speaking to me when she wanted to stop speaking to me. Okay?
Mhm.
And the last bit was, I went to New York for my sister's bachelorette party. I said I was going to go, and my friend got very upset that I was not taking her, and I was like,
Yep,
what
you
do you
told me about
mean?
this shit.
This is not my thing. My sister is having. I'm not going on vacation, you know. And she's like, yeah, but I want to go. I want to go visit New York, blah blah blah. And so, me being the dumbass, okay, I asked my sister, and honestly, I swear to you, I didn't think she would say yes. I really didn't. So I asked out of curiosity if, you know, such and such could come if she paid her own way, you know, and whatever. And she said yes, because she's like, she's just sleep on the couch. It turns out there was enough room like for another bedroom for the two of us. And so we go, and we're having a good time, but my sister had this really beautiful place like that her, I don't even remember whose it was. It just was in the family, and she was staying there. We had a club to go to, you know, and other things in that specific area. But my friend wanted to do other things. She wanted to go out, she wanted to explore. And my mom at the time lived in New York. So she was there. She was willing to say, hey, I'll come scoop you girls, and you guys can, you know, do errands with me and ride with me for a day or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said no. I said no because at the time I was not in a position to be that with my mom. My mom and I have a very strenuous relationship. And because of her toxic behavior, I was not able to be in a car for hours with her without it turning into a fight or an argument. And then what? I'd be stuck in the car at her discretion unless I get out and take a cab,
Yeah.
which I didn't want to
Well, we weren't
do.
doing it. Yeah.
And second, I was there for my sister's bachelorette fucking party. Like, that's what we were there for.
Yeah.
Okay? And she ended up messaging my best friend at the time, or my other, Jose,
Yeah.
to try and, because she, whatever, she wanted that too because I wanted that. So that
Oh
was a whole
God.
other problem. Anyways, she was messaging Jose talking about how I'm being ridiculous to my mom and having attitude with my mom, and being mean to her
Well, you
because,
guys are on the trip.
well, we're on the trip. Literally, I'm sitting on the couch with my sister and her friends in the fucking house. Okay, we're all dressed up. We're drinking, having a good time. And I'm fucking getting messages from Jose talking about, why is Andrea messaging me about you and your mom? Like, I don't understand.
Solid, Dodo.
Yeah.
Solid guy right there.
Yeah, for
He's like,
real.
hey, this bitch
Yeah.
talking about you.
Yeah, no, he said, I don't know what she thinks this is, and my loyalty lies with you. So I don't know what she thought was going to happen here.
Oh God, I'm
And I
dying.
was like, dude, I don't know either, because, and then I explained myself, and he said I didn't need to. He said I didn't need to explain what was happening, but I felt like I did, because
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
made me feel like she made it seem like I was this bad, terrible person, and that she was all like holier than thou. Like, she's mean to her mom, and I'm not. Like, what are you talking about? And so she I said no to her. I held my
Ground.
ground, and she hated it, and
Yeah.
she refused to speak to me on the flight home. She said barely 2 words to me.
Shit.
She got picked up before I did, and she didn't stay with me. And the whole deal was that if either of our parents weren't there to pick us up, or our rides, we would wait until the other person leaves,
Mm,
and that. But no, she fucking left. She was like, I'm not waiting, and then she just stopped talking to me.
that's nuts.
She just stopped talking to me. And then she reached out to me. I reached out to her. I said, "Hey, it's my dad. It's coming up on my dad's birthday. My dad passed away when I was 9, for those of you who don't know. It's coming up on my dad's birthday. I don't care what we're going through. I need my best friend. Can you please, reach out?" And she saw the message and
She never
she
responded.
didn't respond. But then the day after, she asked me to roll a couple joints for her dad because her dad's back was hurting from the surgery
Yeah, you
he
told me
had
about this.
from like however long
That's
ago.
nuts.
Because I'm fucking stupid, I did it,
Yeah.
because I didn't have any problem with her parents. And she came to the house and I said, "Are we going to talk about what's happening?" And she said no. She took the joints and she walked out of my house.
Toxic as fuck.
Yes. And that was, for me, that was like, that's it. No
Yeah.
more. She tried to come back in maybe like a year later, a year. And I was like, absolutely not.
That's fucking nuts.
Mhm. Toxic behavior. But I put up with it for so long because I thought, like you said, that was normal.
Yeah.
And it's not.
I feel like it's so problematic, man. Like finding someone in your childhood and bringing them into your life and continuing this cycle of weird behavior,
Yeah.
toxic behavior. It's exhausting.
Mhm.
Like once you get out and you start looking back and you're like, what the fuck was I doing?
Dude.
Like, why did I keep allowing this or why did I keep going for it? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's so weird.
It is
It's so
because
weird, the connection and the wanting to fix things and the wanting to have that image of, oh, but we're best friends
yeah,
or we're boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, whatever the
that
situation.
has got to stem from like childhood
Yes,
something,
childhood
because
trauma.
I definitely was one of the things that kept me in that relationship was the comfort of knowing that someone was supposed to be there for me, like, cuz I didn't have that as a
I think
kid.
for me it was the opposite. It was the feeling of being needed.
Oh.
So I stay, and I've always been like that. I've always ended up with relationships or friendships where I feel like I'm needed, where I feel like I'm making a difference, where I feel like, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like where
course.
I feel like if I weren't here, it would impact this person. So I
Mhm.
want to be here for them.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for me. I always want to be there, but that's the problem
Yeah.
because I always want to be there. So even when I shouldn't be there, or even when I'm not wanted there, or whatever the fucking situation, I'm still there,
Mm.
you know? And in my fucking friendship at the time, I feel like that was such a big thing
That you were needed.
that I was needed. So I had to stay. And people would be like, but this is weird, dude. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't. Yeah, you.
Yeah.
You told me too many times, like, this is weird. Like you would see our messages and shit because it got to the point where I was losing it. Like I remember, especially when I got with Lewis, and I feel like that's when my brain started like slowly like adjusting to
Mhm.
adulthood and trying to really find myself and try to at least be a fucking better person. I started really noticing the weird shit that was going on. Like I couldn't hang out with anybody.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a relationship with her.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it was a full on relationship. And at the time, like I said, I felt like I was needed. So I didn't really have a problem with it. But it got to the point where I was like, this is a lot. I can't, like, it got exhausting.
Exhausting.
Like having to hang out with her got exhausting because I needed a certain degree of connection, but there wasn't because it was exhausted. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? There
Yeah.
was no more
You were
connection.
depleted. That she took everything she could from you.
Yes, and it was just like it was just a habit. It was like we were friends out of habit.
Yeah.
It got to the point where we were literally just talking every single fucking day, hanging out every single fucking day, turritu, turritu, like a fucking routine, but there was no real
Substance.
substance. There was no real substance. And when I finally moved, that's what I asked for because I needed it because I was
Mhm.
alone.
Yeah.
Lewis would leave Monday through fucking Thursday, and I was alone with Leo all fucking week,
Yeah.
and I felt alone. So I needed my best friend, so I asked for that. And I got something in return of, oh, but I mean, we talk every day. Yeah, but can you call me? Can we FaceTime just for a little bit? Because I needed that.
Yeah.
And after so many years of literally hand in toe for her, whenever she posted a fucking status about being sad, sent me a paragraph about how sad she was because I was hanging out with somebody else, or because I didn't have enough time for her, or da da da, whatever the fuck, I would literally get the fuck up and run to her. I would send her paragraphs of what I thought she needed to hear.
Yeah.
But when I went away and I needed that,
She was
it
not
was
prepared
never
to give
there.
it. Yeah.
And it took me 12 years to need it, because honestly, I'm gonna say it. I'm a very suck my feelings out of that. I'm not gonna feel it. I'm not gonna fucking be this sad bitch. I'm not gonna do this. I'll let anger take over me, but I won't let sadness take over me.
Mm.
But when I left, sadness took over me. So that at that point, after almost 12 years, was the first time that I ever actually needed somebody and reached out, and it was too much. Like, and it was a lot.
She was not prepared to give that back to you.
She was not prepared for it because she was busy now.
Mhm.
And I get that. I totally get that. But when you have a friend that fucking needs you,
You should
that's
make the time.
you should make especially
care
after
about
someone that
them.
gave you their fucking life
Yeah.
and their fucking boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's weird to say it, but
It's true.
I spent so much time worried about her that my boyfriends at the time, whether I had like 5 boyfriends within that friendship of hers,
Mhm.
and all of them were hindered from that friendship. And all of them have spoken to me saying, can we not bring her? Can
Yeah.
she not be around? Can you not have to worry about her? Can you know, like,
Yeah, she was a lot
it was a lot.
because she never really kind of like hid any of her like
Emotions
dislike
either.
for
Yeah.
us from us.
Yeah.
So it always made, I guess, the people who you're talking about and me very uncomfortable.
Yeah. I know. Audrey was very uncomfortable as well. Like, all of my now very close friends that were always telling me, "Hey, this is fucking weird." I remember having a best friend before her, and she was amazing. You know what I'm saying? And sadly, we separated mostly because of her and
Wow.
because of the drugs. Because that friend at the time was a solid, like, I'm not gonna do
Not
drugs.
doing
I'm
that.
doing success.
Straight
Like, fuck your
edge.
ass shit. You're a fucking idiot. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Get the fuck out of here. This is not gonna be good for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, 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 nah. And I went the other way, you know?
Yeah,
But
decisions, but
everybody that came into my life told me, wake your fucking eyes up. This person is bad for you. Like, I remember just going out of my way to hang out with anybody else and it being the biggest fucking problem.
yeah.
Or like,
Remember that time I made the post? I came over and she was there and we hung out for a little bit and we smoked or whatever. And then I left, but it had been a while since I'd seen you. So I made a post on Facebook. I wasn't her friend on Facebook. I didn't feel like I needed to add her, but I tagged you in the post. I said it was so wonderful to see you and to catch up with you. I hope we get, to keep in contact,
see you two
especially
again,
since
yeah.
you were living right there again. Like, you were
Yep.
right there. Not there, but the other there. You lived close to me for a while,
Mhm.
in a couple different places. And then she had a problem with it.
Yep. Or when you had a party and you didn't invite her, or
I just
anything.
assumed she was coming with you. I didn't
know.
think I had
And
to
I told her that,
invite
and
her.
she didn't believe it. And like, that's the thing. Like, just saying that, like, it gives me the legalies. Like, just to think that I literally had to, like, almost beg people to forgive her behavior, to be
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, like, this is just, just
It's been a
feels
bad
this way,
day. She's
Like, I
having this
remember
kind of
telling you, like,
feeling.
just give her a chance. She's cool. Da da da. Telling all of my friends, my boyfriends, just being like, just give her a chance. Like, da da da. But it was just a very possession controlling, toxic behavior.
Yeah.
It was a very toxic fucking friendship that lasted way too fucking long. And it took way too long to get out of it.
Yeah.
And
But that's again comes with where your limit is at, because I also remember having that conversation with you. Like, you'll get to your
Yep,
part,
I
you'll get to
remember.
the point where you can't do this anymore, and you'll say, "Fuck this shit, I'm out."
Yeah, and I remember crying. I remember
Yeah.
crying and being like, that it sucks that we're here. Like it sucks to be here because I
Mhm.
definitely saw her being in my life for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be the my godmother. I mean, the godmother to my kids. She begged to be, but then she was annoyed about the kids.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I was
what
like,
the
"What the
fuck?
fuck?"
And everybody would see it, and it was so weird, bro. It was so weird. It was just like a very possessive, controlling situation. Such a toxic thing. And especially the way everything ended. I'm glad it did, but it was so
Abrasive.
toxic. Yes, it
Yeah.
was such a toxic ending on both ends because at the end of it, I was at my wits. I
I
was
believe
done. I
it.
was so fucking angry. I had so much built emotion. Fucking, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. I was like, fuck you, fuck your mama. I'm done with your fuck. Like, I remember
Not your
sending her like
mama
a whole
too.
fucking audio of like hell within.
You snapped.
I
You were
snapped. I was
done.
done. Like I was done. And I remember like trying to like even after everything, I remember us speaking once and it was like a weird like
Vibe.
a weird like, oh, I love you and you're great and everything was fucked and this it was so fucking weird. And then I remember her saying something like, "Oh, well, maybe we'll be friends again one day," and it was like, I don't know if I'll ever get back there.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it
my
sucks
god.
because it's like I wish I could just be like, yeah, let's forget about everything. Let's go back to the
Yep.
way we were, but we weren't anyway, except
Exactly.
toxic.
And you
Even
both were different.
exactly.
Different now in different spaces.
Oh no,
Like
and
you
it's
can't
like never.
you can't go back to that.
Because that's the thing. Once you let go of a toxic situation, you can't go back.
I would have fought you tooth and nail if you even
I
tried,
know.
because she sent
I
she
know you're
sent
not the
me a
only one.
message too.
Yeah, I
Remember?
remember. I
And said a
remember.
whole bunch of and I was just like,
And I remember her
"What?"
like I remember reading that message and being like, "What are you trying to achieve here?"
She was trying to
Isolate.
spoil us.
Yeah.
I feel like a big part of toxicity is that selfishness, right? I said that at the beginning. And they want to be not just selfish for themselves, but with you. Like,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to have any connections. You have to be accessible to them 24/7. Let's say you call them and they don't answer, but that's okay. But they call you and you don't answer,
And it's
and
a
it's a problem
problem.
because they don't that reciprocation that you get in a healthy relationship with someone is not something you're going to get with a
With it.
toxic
Yeah.
relationship.
It's
They
true.
don't want you to have anybody else. They want what you want, to feel needed,
Yeah.
but also they want to feel needed, they want to feel supported, they want to feel comfortable, they
And they
want
want
to
to be the
feel,
only one.
yeah,
Yeah.
the only one.
Like I
So,
remember, that's so weird. Yep. All right, we're done. Done with that.
yeah,
Because I could talk about that literally for hours. I
of
could talk about that for
course.
days. But yeah. So besides friendships, have you had any other toxic situations that you would like to speak on?
I think I really wanted to also bring the family into this, because just because they are blood does not mean that
Oh my
they are
god,
beyond getting cut off for being toxic. That's just, and it's sad.
it
It's
is.
sad, especially from my view, because I've always wanted to have that close family dynamic,
Yeah.
and I've never had that ever.
Mm.
Okay, my family is very disjointed. They like to say that they're all together and everything's cool, but I'm a product of them not being cool. Like, our
I so
relationship
feel that.
is a product of everything not being cool, because everything's cool for a few people, the main people, but anything different, and they treat you different. And it's not just me, like, they don't give a shit
Yeah.
about anybody else's feelings. And I'm one of them, the one to say something, like, you guys can't do this to me. Like, first of all, you don't know me to say these kinds of things about me. Like, I think it's that whole thing of family. Your business is my business, because you're my family and you're younger than me.
Yeah. You
So
don't know
you
shit.
don't know shit. And I,
Know
because I'm older
everything.
than you, know everything. And I'm going to be that. That's how my family is.
Mm.
And I am at the point now where I'm like, no, you can't be like that.
Good for you.
So goodbye.
Yeah.
I just had to recently cut off someone in my family because they could not wrap their heads around my divorce and were not respecting my boundaries that I set with my ex-husband and my family. And that's okay to me. I mean,
Yep.
it hurts. I mourn that relationship because I thought this person was really the only thing I had left in my family
Was going to be in your life
and was
forever.
going to be in my corner and in my life and
Yep.
supporting me forever, and it wasn't the case. And
Sucks.
that it sucks. And that ability to be so emotionally selfish again screams toxic person.
Yeah.
Because they just can't see beyond their own needs and beyond their own wants.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be family. We're supposed to be blood. You're
We're supposed to be
family, bro. Like, come on. I mourn my relationship with my friend, because that sucked. I put a lot into that. But at the end of the day, they weren't my family. You're supposed to have your family at the end of the day, and I didn't even have that. And now, I mean, I cherish the relationships I do have.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%, reaching out to my dad's side of the family, being so close to my cousins because we decided to not let the drama and that toxicity affect our relationships because we have our own personal relationships.
That's
and
awesome.
They fucking kick ass,
Yep, they do.
but they're definitely, family members are not above being cut out for toxic behavior, and they shouldn't be.
I agree, man, because I feel like with my family, I went through a huge, I mean, many, 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 especially when I was younger. Like, I remember the constant of there's a way to be and you're not it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me not only expose you, but make fun of you for it. Like, I remember being like 13 years old and wearing a slightly booby shirt because I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I looked cute. I didn't look like no stripper. I looked cute. Stripper. All right. Well, my beautiful little family decided to call my father and tell them how big of a slut I was.
Oh my God.
And how I was going to be a stripper and how I was going to have kids early. And mind you, my mom had me rather early. They're very fucked up. Always have been to my mom. And I get it. I have a mother-in-law and she's a bitch. So I get people have different ways of being, especially when you're not part of the family. But it's fucked up, man, because when you are part of the family and you don't get that acceptance, it's fucked up. I feel like my grandfather got sick, really fucking sick, and he passed away not that long ago. Okay. But I barely got to speak to him, and they say it's all my fault. Mind you, during this time, they were attacking my mom. Like, while my grandfather is basically on his deathbed dying, they're attacking my mom about shit that's happened in the past, about whatever the fuck. I remember sticking up for her and them sending me messages about my mother and her not giving a fuck about me and her wanting to kill herself. Like, all of these unnecessary comments that didn't need to be coming from my family to me about my family, like about my mom and my dad, all while my grandfather's on his fucking deathbed. I was in college at the time. I was working at the time. I was in the most fucked up abusive relationship of my life at the time with this piece of shit guy that kept cheating on me and just physically and mentally abusing me. And I had my fucking family on my fucking ass. And I honestly, I did. I missed the chance to say goodbye to my grandfather, but I blame it on my family dynamic.
Of course.
I blame it on the toxic fucking behavior that was brought upon at the worst time possible. My grandfather passed away. We get a message and it's like, he passed away. And I remember being like, what the fuck? It took me so long to process it. I still haven't processed it.
Yeah.
It's been too many years now. Many years. Because I didn't have Leo at the time. It was prior pregnancy. So it's almost been 9 years since his passing, and I still haven't processed. And it's because I didn't get to process him dying because of everything that was going on. Because instead of us being a fucking family and realizing that we were all going through shit, not just them, it was like, we could have possibly had a nice goodbye,
Hmm.
but we didn't
Because of their selfishness.
because of their selfishness, their toxic
Yeah.
behavior, their constant need to be right, their constant need to be on the upper hand.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's also, I think that's big, the upper hand thing,
Yeah.
because that, going back to the definition, is their way of making
You
sure that
feel
you
small,
know
yeah,
that they're better
than you.
than you.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Everything's fucked up. And let's just scoot right in to quick relationship comment.
Mm-hmm.
I've had two really fucked up boyfriends in my life.
Yeah.
All of them have been majorly fucked up, honestly. But two of them were majorly fucked up.
Yeah.
One of them I was completely and utterly in love with, and he was a piece of shit. He was a psychopath in the sense of he would get on the floor and cry and paddle like a baby.
Fetal position?
A
Like
wailing
this?
position. No, wailing position.
What
Like
is
on his
that?
back, like
Oh,
like
God,
that.
like a tantrum.
Like a tantrum. He would throw tantrums a lot.
Oh
Like
my
a lot.
God,
And
Susie.
we would hit, like we would fight. Like get into physical altercations a lot. Like a lot. Like I remember being choked against the refrigerator door and me being like knee to ball type action
Mm-hmm.
and slapping and kicking and throwing and breaking and just abusive as fuck. That lasted almost 3 years. And once again, I felt like I was needed. I felt like he needed somebody. I felt like the behavior that he was experiencing, that he was bringing out, was a cry for help. So my dumbass was just there, like, beat me up.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I felt like. And then skip forward to a couple years later, not even that many, where I met this other piece of shit that cheated on me multiple times. And my dumbass continued to stay there. I feel like the point I'm trying to make here is that toxic people are addicting. At least my type of experiences, when you've had my type of trauma, chaos is wanted. It's hard to get away when you feel like you're needed, even if you're being abused.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's just a constant cycle. That's always been a thing in my past lives, is that I'm constantly being either mentally, physically abused, but I'm there. And honestly, half the time I'm happy to be there because, oh, I'm needed. Oh, but at the end of the day, they come and hug me and tell me that they love me, tell me that they need me. So I'm fucking there because that's how toxic people get you. Because they fucking do everything possible to make you feel good and make you feel like shit.
Master manipulators. And it's typically the class type of like being a narcissist, that and toxicity are like hand in hand.
Huge.
Um,
Just the concept of being fragile and getting in that situation. It's hard to get the fuck out.
yeah.
And speaking of, I don't know if you guys remember, but last episode we actually asked you guys to send in some toxic experiences, opinions, thoughts, so on and so forth. We actually put it on our social media as well, and we got a few submissions. This is one of them.
This one is from Kishay, and thank you so much for sending
Yes,
it in
thank you
and
so
for
much.
sharing. But before we start, I do want to say this a trigger warning. This story does involve sexual abuse. So if that's too much for you, we completely understand. And if you have to exit, thank you guys for listening. So I was about 15 turning 16. I went to my mom's house in Miami to visit and meet this guy. And ultimately, he forced himself on me. And I was young, so I never really had the sex talk. I got 2 kids now, so I understand how it works. But back then, I thought I could possibly be pregnant. And I saw my mom and I told her, but I didn't tell my dad. So when I went back home to my dad's house, I talked to one of my aunts and told her what happened, and she got me a pregnancy test. I took it. My dad found the instructions in my drawer, however, so there was a sit down. He approached me and he was like, "Are you having sex?" I told him no, and he's like, "Okay, so what's this?" So I told him basically what happened, and he started yelling at me, and he's like, "You were though, right?" And I was like, "No." Trying to protect the person because I was already so terrified about what was happening. My dad is just toxic as hell, so he would be irrational. He thought that the guy was someone who I was close to for about 4 years, and I told him no, it wasn't. But he had it in his head already that that was the situation. And so, long story short, that became a really big thing. And eventually it came up again, and I was like telling him that's not what happened. and explained what did happen. And he basically called me a liar. And I told him, "You don't know me." And he's like, "I know you better than you know yourself," and just being really mean. I told him I was molested at the age of 8. And he told me I was a liar, that never happened. And if it did happen, he would know about it. Granted, it was something I didn't really remember until that happened until I looked at his house because I was alone and I got thinking about it and realized that this was a memory that I had completely blocked out. So, in all of this, he's upset. He gets really mad. He calls me a liar, pushes me into the refrigerator as I'm trying to walk away, and he's just going off. He's like, "You're going to go to Miami. You're going to be a whore. You're just disgusting piece of shit," basically. And I was like really young at the time. So, this was crazy. So, I ran away. I ran back to Miami to go with my mom. And after I ran away, he turned off my phone. He didn't know where I was. He didn't try and figure out what was going on, just turned off my phone and didn't talk to me and basically kind of just left me to fend for myself. During my time back in Miami, I did better than I was expected to do. I graduated with a 3.0 GPA by myself and put myself through school. And he made it look like my accomplishments were because of him. And he went around telling people how he raised me and all types of stuff. And after that, he badmouthed me to everyone, including my sisters. He actually caused a rift between me and my sisters because he made it look like I was the problem. And that is the definition of toxic.
Fuck.
Yeah, listen, Kishay has been my best friend for 15 plus years. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. I know her father and I know this fucking piece of shit. He's literally, if you look up toxic, you'll find his face
Yeah,
next to
he
that definition.
absolutely sounds like a disgusting human being. Like
Yeah,
it's your daughter reaching out, practically asking for help
begging for
and
it, crying for help,
begging for
really,
help, and you completely and utterly
because
dismiss,
that
and
would
not
look
only
bad
you
on him
dismiss,
as a father.
exactly.
Like to say that if it did happen, I'd know about it. Like that's
How
disgusting.
fucking dare you? I
Yeah,
am so sorry that you had to go through this. I'm so sorry that you experienced this. This is not okay. And you're absolutely right. This is the definition
of
of
toxic.
toxic. And the fact that we can have such toxic people in our family.
Family, yeah,
Like,
that's her fucking
exactly.
father,
Like,
dude.
for
Her
you,
biological
hmm,
father.
yeah,
How
disgusting.
how you can do that to your blood, like your daughter? Like I don't know. But you know what? Kishay is a kick-ass mom.
Yep.
She's an amazing wife and a great best friend, and she's better for it now. She's working through her stuff, and she's all right.
Yep.
So,
All the power to you, all
yep.
the love to you. And I can't believe that was such a disgusting fucking reaction
Well,
as a father.
yeah. Well,
Toxic
thank you
people
so
suck.
much for sending this and being so vulnerable with us and our listeners. I'm sure they appreciate it too.
Yeah, thank you for opening up. Thank you for being here.
All right. I think we have another submission from Yesenia, and hers is actually a voice clip, so we'll get to hear her tell her story.
I love voice clips.
I do
Thank you
too.
for sending
Yes,
it in.
girl. Thank you. All right.
About 2 years ago, I had a friend who had a girlfriend, and I basically became like a third in the relationship because I was always with them, and I was always a part of their arguments. Like, I was always the one playing mediator. And this is probably the most toxic people that I've ever encountered in my entire lifetime. But it was more so my friend's partner who was like the most toxic. One moment that I experienced with them that kind of just changed my life forever was when we were in the car and they were arguing. And I had never experienced arguments the way that these two women were arguing each other. Like, I'm talking about screaming matches, like fist fighting, just everything that you can imagine going wrong, just times 10. Okay, so we're in a car, we're on the highway, and they're arguing about oatmeal because one person made oatmeal and the other person didn't want oatmeal and didn't eat it. So the girlfriend got mad at my friend for not eating the oatmeal, wasting money. This whole entire, like, it's something so stupid, right? Mind you,
Okay.
we're on the highway, and I told you they argue terribly. So as we're on the highway, my friend's girlfriend gets so mad that she pulls the wheel. She pulls the wheel of the car that my friend is driving while we are on the highway, and we almost hit a car. Okay, we almost hit a couple cars because it wasn't a one-time thing of her just taking the wheel. It got so bad that we had to pull over on the highway, and then me and my friend who were actually driving the car get stranded on I-95. Okay, we are on the side of the highway because this argument went so left, okay? So, whatever, we couldn't even call an Uber because what the fuck? She ended up calling her mom, which was really embarrassing because her mom didn't even like her girlfriend. Whatever. We get picked up. I get dropped off at my house, and I start getting 1,000 phone calls. And I answer one of them, and it's my friend's girlfriend, and she's like, Blank isn't talking to me. Blank isn't talking to me. Like, you need to like help me talk to her. Like, you need to get her to answer the phone. And I'm like, you left us on the highway. Like, what do you mean? And she got mad at me that I wasn't trying to help her. So I hung up and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. She called me so many times that Do Not Disturb didn't work,
Oh
and I
no.
literally had to shut off my phone. When I opened my phone, I had 157 messages.
Holy shit.
Oh
Not
my
messages,
god.
voicemails, and just missed calls. Okay, so now I'm like freaking out because what the hell? I call my friend, she's experiencing the same exact thing too. And rather than the girlfriend pulling up to my friend's house, she pulls up to my house.
Oh my god.
Crying. Like, just literally insane. My stepdad had to kick her out of our property because she was doing so much. She was screaming. She was banging on my door. She had a knife. She's like, I'm gonna kill myself. And
What?
my stepdad literally said, you're gonna have to kill yourself somewhere else because this is unacceptable.
Oh my
And literally left and said, if I kill myself, it's because of you. What? And then instead of going to her girlfriend's house, she just parked in her community and was just waiting for my friend to leave her house. That was probably like the most toxic, unhealthy, insane behavior that I've ever witnessed.
Holy crap, bro. That
That was crazy.
that was nuts.
Oh
And
my god.
it's so crazy because that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are those type of crazy ass females that end up doing that shit. I know a few of them. I've
Crazy
experienced
fucking
that.
men too, because
No, for real.
like
For real
my
though.
mom and my stepdad and myself were on our way to church, and my mom and my stepdad got into a big argument on the 826 and pulled the car over and kicked us out of the car.
Jesus.
We had to walk to the church on the highway.
Yeah. You see that type of shit. Like
That's
one,
crazy.
like my
Mhm.
boyfriend's ex-girlfriend was continuously on his ass, and one time he called me halfway crying and running. I could hear him running, and apparently she was chasing him
Oh my
on the
god.
street with her car. And this was right before he jumped out because she kept threatening that she was going to ram the car into a wall.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I had to go and pick him up because that's how crazy that shit
That's
is.
crazy.
It's crazy. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
That was
thank you
insane.
for
Just like,
taking us on that roller coaster
holy
ride.
fuck, dude. Not to mention, I'm sorry you had to experience that. I'm sorry that you had to be the fucking
That's definitely cringe too. Like
the
being
middle.
in the middle of that, and then
Yes.
your stepdad having to get involved. That's just a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a lot.
So I'm sorry,
That's
but
heavy. But thank you
thank you
for
for
opening up.
submitting and sending us your experiences. We have a couple other experiences, but I think we're gonna have to wrap it up now. So you'll have to catch those stories on our TikTok.
This was crazy. It was a very crazy topic. Yeah. So keep an eye out on TikTok. We'll bring out more stories from us and from others.
Yep.
And thank you for joining us. Anyways, so check us out for episode 8, where we talk about
Thoughts on drugs.
drugs.
Drugs. We're doing it.
I know. It's a very taboo conversation.
Yes, it is, and we are more than prepared to have it.
There's a lot to talk about, and we gonna dig in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please check us out on Instagram at _exploring thoughts _ Don't forget about our TikTok, our Facebook, our website. Shit, bitch. Check us out everywhere.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys.
Share, subscribe, like, comment, and see you